Namo Amitabha Buddha. Legend of Faun Celestial Eyes. Innate vegetarian. I'm a vegetarian and delighted to eat vegetables, tofu, bean sprouts, peanuts, soybeans. These are the most appetizing. Contrarily, I feel nauseated at the sight of fish, meat, chicken, and duck. When people treat me dinners facing the table full of delicious dishes, I often cannot move my chopsticks. It's so embarrassing. People love to ask, how is it so stupid? Prefer to eat green vegetables than delicious feed and meat? Yes, it's so stupid. Very stupid. I just can't swallow those meat dishes, including even the special dishes of famous restaurants. Others smell fragrant in the nose and drip saliva 3 feet, while I smell in the nose as corpse like stinky and want to vomit. What happened? People ask me with both care and blame. I don't understand it either. Is it perhaps the so-called innate vegetarian? I've always refused to eat meat since I was a toddler. My parents worried that I was malnourished and wanted me to eat some meat, but I always refused. No matter how they appeased me or cheated me, I would not touch it with my lips. Sometimes they got irritated and fed me forcefully, but I spit out, crying and screaming, and incurred a spanking on my buttocks with a feather duster. This child, my mother sighed and said, how can he grow up, not eat any nutrient? Send him to temples to be a monk, said the father. It's useless to keep him at home. Every day he cried and screamed because of a meal, never have a quiet day at home. Indeed, perhaps my parents should send me to temples, because I was always disobedient and refused to eat meat. It seemed to me that eating a meal is like going to be executed. Parents often quarrel with each other because of this. My mother did not believe in Buddhism at that time. She had studied short-term medical care, knowing a little Western medicine nutrition theory, plus the Chinese people's traditional concepts of having supplements. And they raised many chickens and ducks themselves, therefore they often killed chickens to have supplements, eating stewed chicken with Angelica Sinsin, Dong Hua, or ginseng, and the likes every day. My father is a very strong and tall man, and born in a rich family. Angelica Sinensis Dong Hua. Ginseng. He was a gastronomer and wouldn't feel full of having meals without meat. He was familiar with all kinds of cuisine, but had a sudden fear of eating meat unexpectedly. They loved their child wholeheartedly and feared that he could not grow up due to malnutrition, but they didn't seem to understand the issue of whether it was appropriate. My father's temper was very irritable and didn't like to hear children crying. When I cried, he spanked my butt or locked me in a dark room. Namo Amitabha Buddha. They had tried every method they could, but I was incompliant due to their will. Later, I gradually ate some eggs grudgingly. Honestly, one reason is that I was afraid of getting spanked, and the other is afraid of hurting my parents. Then I swallowed the egg, which was also stinky and made me sick. Even if I mixed with half a bottle of sesame oil, it still tastes awful. Then one day when my mother was not at home, my father took the opportunity to beat me up brutally, till I swallowed the stewed beef soup placed in front of me with my tears and snot and spewed on the ground. Later the gravy became a catastrophe that I could not escape every day. I always swallowed it under the threat of parents and the feather duster. The chicken soup stewed with precious herbs were so terrible that I managed to escape, ran outside and dared not go home. After returning home, I was rehabilitated inevitably by the feather duster. In fact, there was not much fun in my childhood. Half is because I was too naughty, irritating parents, and got scolded and spanked, and half is unwilling to eat meat and often disputed with parents and incurred troubles. My mother later believed in Buddhism. Half of it could be said because of my advice. My mother has not killed any poultry for more than 20 years. Now she has been a vegetarian, just as I discussed in Fear Meat. My father has separated from us for more than 20 years. I heard that he also believes in Buddhism now and no longer like eating meat. My mother was young at that time, eating too much chicken, perhaps absorbed toxin from the animals. She got sick all year round, often got a rash and high blood pressure. She had to see doctors frequently and stayed in the hospital for medical treatment. Sometimes I can vaguely remember some childhood memories. I was less than 2 years old, a toddler, watching the maid killing the chicken with a knife, cutting the chicken's neck. The knife was not sharp and slashed it back and forth for a while. The chicken was bleeding but couldn't breathe its last, flapping wings and kicking legs, rushing and struggling and trying to get help from me. I could never forget the scene and still remember how terrified I was at that moment. Namo, Amitabha, Buddha. No killing, I cried and babbled at that time. Until now I still cried the same in my dreams from time to time. I can remember the matters at 1.5 years old. Sometimes I asked my mom about the situation and figures during a chat. She was surprised. That's when you were 1.5 years old. How do you remember it so clearly? I just remember it. Sometimes it's vivid as it was current. Namo, Amitabha, Buddha. I still remember when I saw the male servant killing a frog, which was the favorite food of my father. I remember how the frog's head was slashed off. It was peeled alive, and the whole body and the limbs were bleeding, still trembling and struggling. Perhaps this is the reason I do not like to eat meat, or maybe I'm just an innate vegetarian. I don't quite understand. After adulthood, there was a period of time I often participated in some social activities and banquets occasionally. Because I don't want to bother the host to prepare vegetarian food, I grudgingly eat a little meat or pretend to eat a bit. Basically, the meat dish is always put in front of my plate and not touched. I cannot take precepts as good as the monks. Actually, I still fear of seeing meat. Living in Canada, it is not easy to eat vegetarian food. Namo, Amitabha, Buddha. It is so cold that most agricultural products have to rely on imports from the United States. How rare and expensive the cabbage is. It's even more expensive than fish, chicken, and meat. I have no choice but to eat boiled peanuts and boiled soybeans. Sometimes I buy a cabbage but begrudge to eat it. Only eat one leaf for one meal. I even plant the remaining roots in the garden after eating the leaves. I can't bear to let it die, but still, it was frozen to death eventually. Fortunately, I can buy a lot of apples and American oranges. I drink some juice every day and I've been used to the fragrant orange juice. I am further sick of those stink of meat, and even the milk smells awful. Life is so simple. No visitor, no social activities, playing the piano, writing an essay or a song, listening to classical music on a record or radio, drinking juice, eating vegetarian food. I cannot say I'm artsy, but it's actually my favorite lifestyle. Namo, Amitabha, Buddha. When it comes to nutrition, I'm a little thinner, but I've never suffered illnesses from malnutrition. In my 30s, when looking at me the first time, the Western visitors often thought I was a teenager and called me, "My boy!" When they came to my home for business, seeing me and asked, "May I talk to your parents?" I don't know how young they thought I am, or this is the only shortcoming of having a preference for vegetarian food. Namo, Amitabha, Buddha. Once a New Yorker called me. I suddenly said to the stranger who I have never met before, "You just ate something that smells so bad and seems like stinky tofu barbecue. You said that you believe in Buddhism. Why do you eat such stinky meat?" The gentleman was shocked. "I'm sorry, I just treated my friends for dinner at home. We rarely buy canned stinky tofu." Namo, Amitabha, Buddha. My wife used it to stew the pork. I didn't expect you to know it. The smell of meat is drifting to me. I felt sick and said, "I'm sorry, I'm sick of the stinky meat. If you have any questions to ask, please call me next time when you don't eat meat." Namo, Amitabha, Buddha. For those who worry that vegetarians are malnourished, please take a look at the above factual evidence. Their doubts should be resolved. If there are children who are innate vegetarian, as long as they are given balanced vegetarian diets, they don't need to worry that they won't grow up. Namo, Amitabha, Buddha. Namo, Amitabha, Buddha.